Okay, today we're doing lesson 22 and we're going to be solving equations using algebra. On several of the problems we're going to read the word problem first in order to determine what our equation is to start with. So in the very first problem, Yoshiro has a new puppy. She decides to create an enclosure for her puppy in her backyard. The enclosure is in the shape of a hexagon, a six-sided polygon, with one pair of opposite sides running the same distance along the length of two parallel flower gardens. So that tells me for my hexagon, I have a set of parallel lines that are the same length. It says there are two boundaries at one end of the flower bed that are 10 feet and 12 feet respectively. So I'm going to put those here, but you could do it at the other end as well. And I label one of them 12 feet and one of them 10 feet. And at the other end, the two boundaries are 15 feet and 20 feet respectively. So I label one of these 15 and one of them 20 feet. If the perimeter of the enclosure is 135 feet, what is the length of each side that runs along the flower bed? So this runs along the flower bed and this runs along the flower bed. Perimeter is the sum of all the sides. So 12 feet plus 10 feet plus 15 feet plus 20 feet plus F equals 137 feet. Okay, so as I walk through the rest of the steps, I'm going to leave the label out until I get to my final answer. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add up the numbers that I do know. So I'm going to add 12 plus 10 plus 15 plus 20. And when I do that, I get 57. So 57 feet. Plus, I have 1F plus 1F. So that makes 2 F's equals 137. Okay, so now I want variables all on one side, which they are. So I'm going to subtract 57 from both sides. And so I'm left with 2F equals 80. So now I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And when I do that, F equals 40. So the length of each side of the one parallel sides that run along the flower bed are 40 feet each. Jenny is on the local swim team for the summer and has swim practice 4 days per week. The schedule is the same each day. The team swims in the morning and then again for 2 hours in the evening. If she swims 12 hours per week, how long does she swim each morning? So she swims in the morning and then 2 hours in the evening, and our total is 12 hours for the week. So each day she swims in the morning and then she swims again for 2 hours. And she repeats that pattern 4 times. So inside the parentheses is the pattern, and then it occurs 4 times. That gives us our total of 12. Okay, so as we talked about in the other day, there's a couple ways to solve this. I'm just going to go through one strategy at this point. So 4 is being multiplied by the sum. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by 4. Those will cancel out, and that leaves me with m plus 2 equals 3. Now I have an addition equation. Opposite of addition is subtraction. So I subtract 2 from both sides. And when I do that, m equals 1. So she swims 1 hour each morning that they have practice. Okay, on exercise 1, we are going to focus on solving them algebraically. We are not going to use the if-then statements. You will see the if-then statements in the key, but you can pick out the pieces of the equation that you're writing down. So on this particular problem, the first thing that I need to do is subtract 4 from both sides. I'm doing that to isolate my variable on one side. So when I do that, I have 5x equals 15. Opposite of multiplication is division, so I'm going to divide both sides by 5, and I get x equals 3. Now, a check it, you don't need to necessarily write it down, but the thought process you should be doing just to make sure you haven't made a careless error. So my expression is 5x plus 4. X is 3, so 5 times 3 plus 4. I multiply first, I get 15 plus 4, and I get 19, which checks out. Okay, if I move to the next problem on this page, very similar problem. Okay, I'm going to subtract 14 from both sides. And when I do that, I have 15x equals 5. Opposite of multiplication is division. Divide both sides by 15. So those cancel out, and x equals 1/3. So showing you can get fractions, you can get decimals for answers. This one, if you wrote it as a decimal, it'd be a repeating 3. So it would look like that. Okay, then for a check, 15 times 1/3 plus 14. So multiply first. 15 times 1/3 is 5, plus 14, 19. Again, at this point you're not required to write the checks down, but I would definitely either do them mentally or with a calculator. We're not going to do the third problem on this page. Go ahead and go to the next page. Okay, on this page, number 4, this is one of those distributed property. I am going to show you both strategies just in case you prefer one over the other. The strategy I would typically use first is I would divide both sides by 2. And so then that leaves me with x plus 4 equals 9. Subtract 4 from both sides, and I get x equals 5. With the other strategy, I would multiply through the parentheses using my distributive property. And so when I do that, I get 2x plus 8 equals 18. And that one I would subtract 8 from both sides. And so I get 2x equals 10. Divide both sides by 2, and x equals 5. For my mental check, or on paper, for those of you who prefer to have it, I take my expression, 2 times the sum of x plus 4, I put a 5 in for that, and then I multiply those after I add, and I get 18. Hey, you're all set. Start with your problem set.